How's it going, ladies and gentlemen, guys and ghouls, children of the corn? My name is Andy Francis, and I used to deal drugs on the daytime television series Days of Our Lives. But now, ever since then, the only thing that I seem to be dealing out are winners. For some of you who remember me from the NHL playoffs, hello, it is good to see you again. I hope you enjoyed burning through those fistfuls of cash like I did these last couple of months, but that's what brings me back. The cash has run dry, and now I'm back like Ra's al Ghul to finish the job, and this time, no misguided idealists will get in the way. Now, is that the best Liam Neeson you'll ever hear? Absolutely not. Is it the worst? Maybe. I'll leave that for you to decide.
You forget things.
I'm about to give you my Super Bowl pick, but I'm going to tell you something, the same thing that I told some skeptical NHL bettors before the NHL playoffs began. I'm not your average bettor, and I'm definitely not your average guy. You're going to hear some things out of me, some theories that you've never heard before. And before you say, come on, I've been betting at sports books from coast to coast, I've heard every gambling theory there is. To that, I guess I'll have to refer you to my clenched ass cheeks theory, which hit for over 80% during the NHL playoffs. So if you know about that theory, then more power to you. But I got more like that coming for the NFL. In fact, you're going to hear about one of those today. And that's going to be my Super Bowl pick. Now, when I try to forecast these championship winners, I deploy what is known as the kryptonite theory. And I'll get back to that kryptonite theory in just a second, because I want to let you know, when you don't know somebody, you haven't seen their track record, someone just comes up from the dust and starts giving you picks, you don't want to have faith in them right away. With me, I understand it. I'm the guy at the beginning of a Child's Play movie who's trying to tell you, yo, there's a doll, he's coming to life, he's stabbing people in the middle of the night, and you're absolutely not going to believe that. But trust me, by the end of this season, you're going to know all about Charles Lee Ray and believe every inch of it. But until then, you may not have faith in me. That's why you can go to BetMGM, and they're going to give you a $1,000 risk-free bet if you're a new customer. So if you don't want to have faith in my picks, don't worry about it. Go to BetMGM, sign up, and you get a $1,000 risk-free bet. Just tell them Andy sent you. Now, that's actually not going to do anything, but I just like knowing that you would go there and say, well, Andy sent me. And they go, okay, you were going to get it regardless. So back to that kryptonite theory. When I try to forecast championship winners, and this applies to every sport, I deploy the kryptonite theory. And I believe that each team out there has one or two kryptonite teams that they actually need to avoid on their path en route to a championship. For whatever reason, those teams, psychologically, they own the other one. Maybe it's matchup based, maybe it's schematics, coaching staffs. But we've seen this many times. We've seen it in many sports, like right now with the Yankees and the Astros. They need to avoid them if they want a World Series. In the NFL, look at a team like the Bucks. The Rams, even with Goff 2 seasons ago, they keep wiping the floor with them, regardless of if the games are in Tampa or Los Angeles. They have their number. And for the Bills, potentially it seems to be avoiding the Chiefs. And for the Cowboys, it's just avoiding any team that plays in the NFL. But the team that I'm looking for to win the Super Bowl is the Green Bay Packers. And I believe it's because they're going to be able to avoid their kryptonite this year in the San Francisco 49ers. If there's ever a year that the Niners wouldn't be in their way, it's going to be Trey Lance's first year as a starter. Say what you want about Garoppolo, the guy's got a lot of playoff wins. And then when you look at other teams that would be in their way, the two that everyone would be looking at would be the Bucks. And don't kid yourself, the Bucks this year, something feels weird about them. It feels like a divorce happened and then the couple was forced back together. It seemed like they were going to break up the band. And the thing happened with Miami. All of a sudden, Brady's back. Gronkowski's still retired. Godwin coming back from the torn ACL. Evans seems like he's at that part of his career where, he's going to go all Julio Jones every game, meaning like, that hamstring's coming up a little leaky. We've already seen it in camp. Speaking of leaky hamstrings and Julio Jones, his hamstring is there for another year of injuries. Something just seems off about them. Brady's leaving camp. He would never do stuff like that. And they lost a couple of members of that offensive line. Something is weird.
Isn't that weird? Yes.
Something's weird about them. But the other challenger who definitely poses a threat would be the Rams. They would be my second favorite team to win the Super Bowl. But fortunately for them, that's a team that Rodgers has matched up well against. He beat McVay his last 2 times. They beat him last year. And let's not act like Matthew Stafford wouldn't have hot flashes like Barry seeing flashbacks of the war. So I'm not too worried about the Rams if they were to match up. And then with the Packers, weirdly, the pressure's off. Everyone looks at them like they're not Super Bowl favorites. They choke no matter what. They got a top 5 defense, and I weirdly think that the departure of Davante Adams will force Aaron Rodgers not to only look at 1 or 2 options as he did in that game against San Francisco last year, where he was just locked on Davante Adams and then a little bit to Aaron Jones and nobody else got looks. Now there's no choice. He's going to have to spread it around, make the right reads, and where I think it may hurt his personal stat sheet, I think it actually will be better in the long run in terms of squeaking out victories. You've seen this with Brady and the Patriots. When they didn't have a great offensive cast, they would be more methodical about using the clock to their advantage, and they tailored their games and offense around actually just getting the wins opposed to, running up the score or anything like that. If there was ever a year for the Packers, I think this is going to be the year. No pressure on Aaron Rodgers. And speaking of, that's my ace in the hole or up the sleeve. We got a single Aaron Rodgers. The celebrity well has run dry. No Shailene Woodley, no, I forget who the other one was. Can't remember, and I'm not just going to sit here and think of who it was, even though that's what I'm doing in the back of my head. But his celebrity well has run dry, and the only way that gets replenished is with a trip to Disneyland, meaning a Super Bowl, and that's what I foresee for the Packers this year. And then just as a little bonus, I'm going to give you some outside MVP picks, because I'm not giving you these chalky, take Patrick Mahomes. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give you deep picks. My first being Matt Ryan. You're talking about, look at the odds for him. We know the voters have voted for him to win an MVP, so it's not out of the question, and you know what that's like. Once you do something once, they don't feel, you don't have to get over that hurdle, like Spain winning their first World Cup. It's like, it seems like it's a winners only club, and then when you eventually get in, now you're allowed to have a bunch of them. So if he's able to reinvigorate his career there in Indianapolis, that could be very good for Matt Ryan with that offensive line there, playing indoors once again. Pretty good setup for him. That division ain't too tough if you ask me. And then other than that, I know sounds a little weird because I picked the Packers to win the Super Bowl, but just from what you hear about the coaching staff and then the elevation of Justin Jefferson, maybe a little bit of Kirk Cousins in there. I mean, these are multiple plus 4,000, plus 5,000, plus 8,000, plus 10,000. I mean, it's not that high. But they're just great odds for two teams who can kind of have an outside chance of going on runs this year. And because there's always a quarterback bias for MVP, give me the quarterbacks of those two teams who have outside chances of making runs. And that's what I got for you today for my introductory NFL bet. I got the Packers taking the Super Bowl and a couple of outside MVP picks in Kirk Cousins and Matt Ryan. So I look forward to giving you more season-long prop bets. We'll have those in the coming weeks, and then eventually we'll get into weekly bets. The same way I gave you some weekly bets for NHL, along with some fantasy plays, DFS plays. I'm going to give you all the good stuff because I'm not one of those guys who just starts telling you, I know every sport. Here's my picks for this. I'm a two-sport guy. NHL, NFL. You already saw what I did for you for NHL. Now we're on to the big leagues. I look forward to it. I will talk to you soon.